to Hi Guys, VDR here, and I'm back with another AQW video. Now today we're going to be doing an overview on buffed, Phantasm slash Phantom Chronomancer. How to get this class is the same thing as always. You go to /join Hero Mart, go to Strife, calendar classes, time lock shops, next decade, Mortis Phantasm Chronomancer, and before that, AC shop, scroll all the way down to 2025, and you could just buy the 2025 time lock key, which grants you access to the Mortis Phantasm Chronomancer class and armor set. So method how to get it, same as always. Now then, the skills. Now the skills that did get changed are, the clock strikes midnight. Now its mana cost went from 10, now it's 8. Final hours and Shroud can now be applied while Temporal Rift is active, and now the Enshroud healed now heals for a static amount. And the duration has changed, increasing your dodge by 40% while healing you over time for 8 seconds. And then we have, let's just, go, it's this. Then we have Time of Death, which has, no mana cost. And now Time of Death now reduces mana cost by 50% for 3 seconds. So what we can gather here with these changes is that, they definitely worked on the mana management for the class. As you see, Final Hours is still a 50 mana cost, which, I wish it could have just at least changed into 30 and whatnot, but, it is what it is. They definitely worked on Enshroud. Now, Temporal Rift and Enshroud could be together. The mana cost went down for the Clock Strikes Midnight. Definitely nice. And we now have reduced mana cost, even if it's for 3 seconds. Alright then, let's move on to combos and enhancements. Alright people, so here's the build for Phantasm Chronomancer. As you know, Ravenous, got changed, so now it triggers on the 3rd skill, which is going to be pretty nice, to really stack up. Wizard, this is a caster, so most caster classes you want to use Wizard. Lammet to increase our crit, and Examine for, less mana consumption with, Intellect and Wisdom. Yeah. That's basically it. Elysium also works here, but now that Ravenous got reworked, now Ravenous has really become the optimal weapon enhancement for, for Phantom Chronomancer. Now this class still has 2 builds, a dodge build and a soloing build. So yeah, let's go over the DPS build. For your combo, what you want to do here is 4 rotations of 3-2-3-2 and then 4-2-4-3-5. And that's pretty much it. So basically with this class, definitely dodging, whatnot, 4, 2, 4, 3, and then 5. And okay, a nice, 254k right there. Definitely nice. We have the Enshroud giving us a good heal over time, which is always nice. And then here we go. Go again. And bam. Wow. 39 seconds, 873. Definitely nice. In terms of soloing, it's definitely gotten better at soloing. It has less mana cost thanks to the Time of Death. And it really is, a good DPS soloer. It's your average, chrono DPS, big orange numbers. But this is Phantom Chronomancer now has become one of the better, chrono DPS soloers. And definitely, a great soloing option, top tier even. Alright then, let's move on to the dodge combo. For your dodge combo, it's basically the same combo as the DPS, but you kind of want to do 4 so you don't get completely, one shot, 2 shot. Now, with this class, you have Enshroud. As soon as Enshroud is about to fade, activate it as soon as possible so you still have your dodge. With this class, it's definitely, improved thanks to Ravenous, thanks to the mana cost being reduced. And it's just being able to just solo, hard-hitting bosses like Primarch. But you definitely got to make sure that Enshroud, stays on. Because if you don't, then, you get 1 shot, 2 shot, and here you go. Bam. Primarch. Done in 39 seconds. 666. Wow. Crazy numbers. So yeah, in terms of its dodge combo, it is now really able to handle, some of the hardest hitting bosses in the game, like Primarch, Lich Lord, etc. Definitely, one of the best, it's now basically become one of the best dodge classes in the game thanks to that Enshroud. Alright then, let's move on to farming. This is a single targeting class with a long combo. Yeah, use another class for farming. Alright then, let's move on to survivability. Alright then, in terms of survivability, thanks to Enshroud and the dodge build, it could definitely hold its own now against monsters such as, Legion Lichlord, Primarch. Being able to like handle those bosses is definitely nice to have. And now it's a really good option to fight those monsters. I mean, because not a lot of classes can say, yeah, I could solo Primarch, Legion Lichlord. Like, not a lot of classes can say that. So then it's just like Phantom Chronomancer definitely one of the more faster options to do so, and yeah, easy Lichlord like that. Let me just accept these items right quick. So yeah, in terms of survivability, its survivability is definitely great now thanks to its dodge, lower mana cost, definitely able to take on, like I said, monsters like Lichlord, Icewing, Beast, with its great dodge, and good nukes, great nukes actually. Alright then, let's move on to support and then final thoughts. In terms of support, Phantom Chronomancer is providing debuffs, as well if it's, Chrono DPS. It could apply no escape from death, reducing the dodge by 30%, outgoing damage by 20, and crit chance by 15 for 20 seconds. And then we have Reaping Rift. If Death Sense is activated, it is consumed to apply Guillotine, which can reduce the opponent's physical and magical resistance by 45% for 12 seconds. So in terms of support, other than it's like, it's Chrono Nukes, it is providing debuffs. Now, if you're really going to see it in like a 7-person or a 4-person lobby, not really compared to like, Interstellar Knight, Chrono Shadow Slayer. It's like once in a blue moon you'll see it in parties. Alright then. The pros about Phantom Chronomancer is that, the mana management is definitely better. In this video I kind of seen like little to no mana problems with the class. It has, one of the best survivabilities in its dodge, being able to solo monsters like, Primarch, Lich Lord, Icewing, the Beast, this class now dog walks, those monsters. Another class option that could dog walk those monsters, which not a lot of classes can say that, you know, and it's still a good, DPS soloer. Definitely nice. Definitely some good changes. Nice. That's pretty much all that I have for pros. Alright then. The cons about, Phantom Chronomancer is that, it's 6 KCs. I say this about every single Chrono overview I do. It's 6 KC, so like not a lot of people, can get access to it. And that you do have to time your Enshroud, because if you let Enshroud fade while fighting a hard-hitting boss, it's basically game over at that point. So Enshroud is like your main form of dodge. And if that fades, you're gonna get one shot, two shot. If it sticks around, it could basically dodge, these hard-hitting attacks. And lastly, for the last con, this may be nitpicky, but Final Hours is at 50 mana. Kind of hoping for it to be, 40. But it is what it is. Alright then, my final verdict about, Phantasm Chronomancer is that thanks to its changes, it's definitely now become a chrono that's worth 6 KCs, as it is like one of the best, dodge soloers, or even just one of the best soloing classes in the game, being able to like handle hard-hitting bosses with its dodge and its nukes and its debuffs. I recommend getting this class if you have the 6 KCs, as its dodge soloing can really help out in those Legion dailies. Alright then, that's pretty much been it for the Phantasm Chronomancer overview. Buffed, I should say. Buffed Phantasm Chronomancer. Alright, how do you guys feel about Phantasm Chronomancer post buffs? Is it nice? Is it in your top 10 soloing classes? I mean, it isn't mine. Thanks to its changes. Maybe it's just like Ravenous is a miracle worker, per post rework. Just how do you guys feel about Ravenous, and this class, Phantasm Chronomancer? Comment section right there. Alright, hi guys, out.